My friend said, I'm pregnant. He left me. I told her, you're not doing this alone. The call came in the middle of an ordinary afternoon, the kind of bright, sunlit day that usually passes without leaving a mark. Outside my window, traffic hummed, children laughed somewhere down the street, and life moved forward with careless confidence. But the moment I heard the strain in her breathing, I knew something had cracked open beneath that normal daylight. Some news does not arrive gently. It crashes into you, even when the sky is clear, even when the world looks exactly the same as it did a minute before. If you believe that kindness can still change lives, if you believe in second chances and in people showing up when it matters most, then take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Stories like this survive because people choose to carry them forward. I had known Marissa for more than a decade, long enough to recognize when her strength was bending under weight she could not carry alone. She was the kind of person who filled rooms with laughter, who remembered birthdays, who checked in on everyone else before anyone thought to ask how she was doing. That afternoon, though, her voice sounded thin, like a wire pulled too tight. She did not need to explain everything at once. The truth spilled out in pieces, heavy and breathless. She was pregnant. The man she trusted had walked away the moment the word responsibility entered the conversation. He had promised support, then vanished behind excuses, unanswered messages, and silence that felt louder than shouting. By the time she finished, there was nothing left but the sound of her breathing and the sense that her world had collapsed while the rest of the city kept moving. I remember standing there with my phone in my hand, sunlight pooling across the floor, thinking about how strange it is that life's biggest moments rarely come with warning. One second you are planning weekends and careers and quiet dreams. The next, everything is rewritten. Marissa was terrified, not only of becoming a mother alone, but of what this abandonment said about her worth. She felt foolish for trusting, ashamed for needing help, and overwhelmed by the future stretching in front of her like an endless road with no map. I did not have perfect answers. I did not have a plan. What I had was certainty about one thing. She would not face this alone. That promise changed both of us, though neither of us understood it yet. The days that followed were filled with practical chaos. Doctor appointments scheduled during lunch breaks, long walks under the harsh honesty of midday sun, and quiet moments sitting together while the reality of her situation settled in. Marissa lived in a small apartment that suddenly felt too quiet, too empty for the storm inside her. Boxes of baby pamphlets arrived in the mail alongside final notices for bills she was not sure she could pay. Every sound seemed amplified in daylight, from the ticking of the clock to the distant sirens outside. There was no dramatic darkness, no nighttime secrecy. Everything unfolded under the bright, unforgiving clarity of day, where fear could not hide. She tried to be strong. She went to work, smiled at coworkers, answered emails, and pretended that everything was fine. But the effort exhausted her. The nausea came in waves, the kind that made her grip the edge of her desk and breathe through it. The loneliness was worse. She would watch couples on lunch breaks, parents pushing strollers, families buying groceries together, and feel like an outsider to a world she had once assumed she would join naturally. Each reminder chipped away at her confidence. I became her constant companion, not out of obligation, but because something in me refused to let her slip through the cracks. I learned the rhythms of prenatal clinics, the way daytime waiting rooms smelled of disinfectant and weak coffee, the way sunlight streamed through blinds while women sat flipping through magazines, each carrying their own version of hope and fear. I watched Marissa's hands tremble as she filled out forms alone, writing her name where two names were meant to go. Every time I sat beside her, my presence a quiet refusal to let her feel invisible. Financial reality hit hard and early. Without his support, every expense loomed larger. Rent, medical costs, groceries, and the future needs of a child formed a list that seemed to grow every day. Marissa tried to take on extra work, staying late, pushing herself past exhaustion. I saw the toll it took, the way her shoulders slumped, the way her eyes lost some of their light. One afternoon, after she nearly fainted from skipping meals to save money, something inside me snapped into focus. Support could not be just emotional. It had to be tangible. We sat at her kitchen table in the middle of the day, sunlight cutting sharp lines across the worn surface, and faced the numbers together. It was not glamorous. It was not inspirational in the way movies make hardship look. It was raw and uncomfortable and necessary. We talked about budgeting, about asking for help, about community resources she had been too proud to consider. I helped her apply for assistance programs, researched clinics, and connected her with local groups that supported single mothers. Each small step felt like pushing against a wall, but slowly, the wall began to move. Emotionally, Marissa struggled with anger as much as fear. She replayed memories of promises that now felt like lies, of moments she wished she could undo. The abandonment left scars that showed up unexpectedly, triggered by innocent comments or well-meaning advice from others. People were quick to ask where the father was, quick to offer opinions she did not ask for. Every question felt like judgment. I watched her flinch, watched her retreat inward, and reminded her again and again that her story did not define her worth. As her body changed, so did her perspective. There were moments of unexpected tenderness in the daylight hours. The first time she felt movement, her hand pressed to her stomach as tears filled her eyes, fear mingling with awe. In that moment, the future stopped being an abstract threat and became a real, living presence. The child was no longer just a symbol of loss or abandonment. It was a person, already shaping her heart in ways she could not resist. Our friendship deepened into something that felt almost sacred. We talked about her childhood, about her dreams before everything changed, about the kind of parent she wanted to be. She worried she would fail, that she would pass on her pain. I reminded her of her resilience, of every time she had shown up for others, of the love she already carried so fiercely. Healing did not come in a straight line. Some days she laughed, made plans, and imagined a future filled with light. Other days, the weight of it all pressed her down until getting out of bed felt like a victory. The turning point came quietly, without fanfare. One afternoon, after a routine appointment, we walked through a park nearby. Children played under the sun, parents watched from benches, and the air smelled of grass and warm pavement. Marissa stopped and watched a mother tie her child's shoe, a small, ordinary act. Instead of tears, a soft smile crossed her face. It was the first time I saw hope settle in her expression without fear chasing it away. She told me later that she realized she did not need her past to look different in order to build a future she could be proud of. From that day on, she began to reclaim pieces of herself. She decorated a corner of her apartment for the baby, using thrifted items and handmade touches that reflected care more than cost. She attended support meetings during the day, listening to stories that mirrored her own, finding strength in shared experience. She learned to accept help without shame, understanding that independence did not mean isolation. I watched her grow steadier, more grounded, even as challenges continued to appear. The birth came on a bright morning, sunlight flooding the hospital room, birdsong filtering through a cracked window. There was fear, pain, and exhaustion, but also an overwhelming sense of purpose. When she held her child for the first time, the room seemed to fall away, leaving only that moment. Everything she had endured led to this, not as punishment, but as proof of her capacity to love and survive. Life after birth was not easier, but it was clearer. Days were filled with feedings, diapers, and short naps stolen between responsibilities. Marissa learned to navigate motherhood with the same determination she brought to everything else, even when doubt crept in. There were setbacks, tears, and moments when she felt she was failing. But there were also milestones, laughter, and a growing confidence that surprised her. She was doing it. Not perfectly, not effortlessly, but honestly and with her whole heart. Watching her transformation changed me too. It reminded me that showing up matters, that promises spoken in moments of crisis can become lifelines. It taught me that support is not about grand gestures, but about consistency, patience, and presence. Day after day, we chose to face reality together, and in doing so, we built something stronger than what was lost. As this story draws toward its end, if it has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who might need hope, and let us know in the comments how it made you feel. Your engagement helps stories like this reach the people who need them most. Before the final moments, there is one special request. Comment with a simple message of support or a heart emoji for anyone out there who feels abandoned, overwhelmed, or alone right now. Sometimes knowing that strangers care can be the first step toward healing. Marissa's life did not turn into a fairy tale. It became something better, something real. A story shaped by courage, community, and the quiet power of not giving up. Under the clear light of day, she learned that being left behind did not mean being left without love. And every time I see her now, holding her child with steady hands and a tired but genuine smile, I am reminded that the most powerful words we can offer someone in pain are simple, unwavering, and true. You are not doing this alone.